All right, hello again. Dr. Robin De Leon, Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, continuing a series of lectures. We're on neuro topics. I was a combat medic to start my career, became an emergency medical technician in New York City, eventually went to medical school, and became an EMT course director for several years at Fort Campbell. And I've been teaching medics, medical students, primary care residents, nurse practitioner residents for years. And so I'm putting together these YouTube videos to try to give you good clinical tips on how to evaluate, understanding evaluations in simple ways that can be used in the field setting or in the primary care clinic setting, in the TMC. All right, today we're doing visual field evaluations and blindness assessment. It's going to be really cool. I love this lecture. We're going to start with assessing how to do a physical exam assessment of visual fields. All right, so I'll need a demonstrator. So, Mr. Bailey, would you like to be a demonstrator without your glasses? All right. That's okay. I'm not asking you. Please take a seat. Just come here toward the front, take a seat, and since we're in the COVID world, I'll throw back on my mask for you. Please come closer. All right. So, I want you to keep both eyes open, put the palm of your hand over your right eye. All right? So as you're looking at me, I want to see how much of your left eye can see full visual fields. All right? So as I bring an object, into your visual field, tell me when you can see. So he can see fully out to here. Now, as I bring it on this side, he can't see it till here. So why can't he see it over here? Why is this field blind, per se, for lack of a better word? And the reason is his nose is in the way. So I can't tell if that eyeball can see over here. That eyeball can see way out here, but I don't know if it can see over here because his nose is in the way. So I'll move his nose out of the way. Now look at me. Now tell me when you can see it.
No.
So now I know that eyeball can see this area. All right? But I had to move his nose out of the way by turning his head. And come straight ahead. All right? Now we're going to come up over the top. Tell me when you can see it.
No.
What about over here? Why can't he see here? He can see here. Why doesn't it equate to here? His forehead's in the way. So, I'm going to have you tilt your chin way up. Look straight at me. I'm going to pull the eyelid out of the way. And now I know he can see up here. So now I know that eyeball can see here, here, here. So he's got good field of that eyeball, taking away the anatomic things, and now I'm going to look, what about below? All right, looking straight ahead. All right, there's not much there, but just in case, I'm going to tilt his head a little bit to move that cheek out of the way so I got bigger cheeks. Again, looking straight at me, so he can immediately pick it up. So that eyeball has full field visual confrontation. I can check the entire set to see where it is. Now here's an interesting trick. Keep that eye covered. All right. I want you to tell me when you can see it. What color is it?
Blue.
All right. Let's see. Here we go. Tell me when you can see it.
No.
What color is it?
One.
Wow, you have great eyeballs. Most people are going to have problems on the periphery because we have more black and white sensors on the periphery of our eyes because we are both, go ahead and you have a seat over there. So you did better on my test than I thought, but anyway. Concept is we are both predator and prey in nature. We're not very fast compared to the animals out in nature. We're not very strong. We're just smarter. And we use tools, so we can hunt animals, so we need both eyes forward to give us binocular vision. Each eye is seeing an object from a slightly different angle. So if we go like this, we can see that each one, like you can do that with your finger, is going to see from slightly different perspective, which gives us depth perception, which allows us to then gauge depth for how I'm going to throw that spear or shoot that arrow, right? How close do I need to be to kill this thing or use a tool to kill it? But we're also prey because we're not faster than these other animals that are out there, all right? And we want to pick up before they come to us. Other animals have eyeballs on the sides of the heads, so they have a wider field, 200, 300 degree view. We have 180. They get out there, they can see all the way back here. All right? And they don't have great color, they have great black and white, which gives you motion. And also gives you sight in low light. So when the animal's coming up the side, we want to be able to pick it up very quickly. If we want to know what it is, I can turn and look and say, that sucks, that's a leopard, and again, I need to be faster than my buddy. So that's how we're both predator and prey. And our peripheral vision is usually colorblind, unlike Mr. Bailey, who has great eyeballs, even though he wears glasses, he says. But you have great color, you have black and white vision out here to pick up motion, and color vision is generally centered here. The issue is, as you lose light, you lose color vision. So in low light conditions, what we're looking at actually starts disappearing because our color receptors, our cones, aren't stimulated, so we can't see what we're looking at. So if we want to see something in low light, we have to look to the side of it, and then in our periphery, black and white, we pick up what it is. And that's actually taught in flight medicine, aviators, and also we also teach our soldiers to scan, because as you're scanning, your periphery is picking up things. You can't just look at something. You got to scan to be able to see things moving, whatever, so you can do that. So as we do that, what we want to do is know what is each eye seeing. So we do that individually, both sides. Can you see? Can you do that 20-foot chart? Read the letters. Let me see what your 20/20 vision is, 20/40, whatever. What's your field of vision? All right. Do you have any holes in your field of vision? All right. And what is the causes of your holes in your field of vision? With one eye, you should never see double, and the classic thing that causes you to see double with one eye is a retinal detachment. So with two eyes, you might even see triple, but double usually means your eyes aren't tracking together. So when we did our cranial nerves and we did our oculomotor, left, right, and the abducens and trochlear nerves, the four corners of a box, all right, we're trying to get the oculomotor, and if they're working together, all right, you're always able to keep focused on a point, the four corners of a box, and left and right, and you can keep focused on that point, all right, it never turns double, but if your eyes don't move together, you're going to see double. Separate issue than what we're dealing with today. Now we're actually dealing with, can your eye process light, process information, can you see? All right, so let's talk about a couple of different types of lesions. The classic, when somebody says they're blind, we're all thinking, okay, this eyeball is gone. I've got complete loss of an eyeball, I'm down to one eyeball. All right, but this eyeball works. There's nothing wrong with this eyeball. But given my anatomy with my nose in the way, here's my field of view, right about there, right about there. So I've got 135 degrees instead of my 180. All right, and what I do to compensate is I turn my head slightly, and there's my field of view, and it's very functional. I can drive, I can do a lot of things with one eyeball. I am very functional one eye, I got a very wide field of view. I just have to turn my head slightly so that I'm not stuck here going straight ahead. I turn my head, look that way, and there's my field of view, and I'm very functional. So losing one eye, people can still be very functional, drive, all those kinds of things. All right, so if you lose one eye, then whatever. Now why have I got these things colored? Because it's how the brain processes information. So objects out here, this is from looking from overhead. So here's your nose. That one sucks. What color didn't I use? Red. Here's your nose. And so looking from overhead, this is the right, this is the left. All right? So the object over here in our left visual field, it's over here, it's going to come in our eye, it's going to cross, and it's going to hit the nose side of my retina. It's going to come down the optic nerve. Now, just to do a quick anatomy, the eyeball is a ball. Off center to the nose side, God took a drill, made a hole. He took a conduit tube into the hole, and through that tube, he passes the nerves, the arteries, the veins. So all of it's leaving there. So the nerves that are coming in on the nose side are going to splay to the nose side. The ones that are coming in on the ear side are going to splay to the ear side. So this nose side, it's actually going to crisscross to the other side of the brain and go here. So that what is in my left visual field is processed by the right side of my brain. So that same object out here is hitting the ear side of my right eye. It hits the nose side of my left eye, but the ear side of my right eye. And because it's on the outside, it stays on the same side, and it comes back here. So an object on the left visual field is seen, regardless of which eye is looking, on the right side of my brain. An object down here on my right visual field is going to hit the nose side, crisscross. Is going to hit the ear side, stay on the same side, and be seen on the left side of my brain. So the object on the right visual field is seen by my left brain. The object on the left visual field is seen on my right brain. Going to the occiput, and from the occiput back of my brain, then that information is transferred to my frontal lobe to tell me what I just saw. Then you have an object down the center. What I'm looking at. Well, object B is coming in. It's what we're looking at. And because the optic nerve is coming in at an angle on the nose side, this is going to hit the retina straight back on the ear side, which means it stays on the same side, which means an object we're looking at is seen by both sides of the brain. So both sides of the brain are processing the object in front of us at slightly different angles, giving us two images. The brain puts it together as we interpret it to give us three-dimensional vision. All right, which allows us to do depth perception. All right. Now, what happens if instead of cutting out an eye, and this actually was a patient of mine last year that came in with the story of, I went in for my colonoscopy, and when I woke up, I was blind in my right eye. In this case, we're going to say left eye for a different reason. But we'll say he woke up blindness in his left eye, except he wasn't blind in his left eye. He had a stroke in his occiput. And that meant that everything that was processed on this side never made it to his frontal lobe because it can't get processed. whether the lesion is at the occiput or along the radiations here, it's basically knocking out that information that then can't get processed in the occiput and come back to the frontal lobe to tell you what you're looking at. So this person, all right, if we go backwards, we look here, object A, he can't see. So his left visual field, regardless of which eye, he can't see, because that's getting processed on this side of the brain. Object B, for his right eye, he can't see. For his left eye, he can. So his left eye can see what's in front of him, and then coming over, but then the nose gets in the way. So the left eye is limited from here to here because the nose is in the way, so he can't see, the left eye can't see over here. The right eye can't see what's in front of it, but can see out here. So what he sees is in front of him and off to the side, because the eyes are putting it together, the brain's putting it together, he can see over here, but he can't see over here. And if he closes this eye, he can't see in front of him. So without this eye, he can't see in front of him, he can only see the periphery. With this eye, he can see in front of him with this eye, but he can't see over here because he only has one eye, he doesn't have depth perception. So this poor guy was a pilot, and he can't fly anymore. His flying days done. He can't drive. He can't just turn his head like the other person and just cock the eye around and go, here's my visual field, I got everything in here. The one eye picks up everything. So as I did his confrontations, I started finding his visual field defects. All right? So I'm coming around and it's like, can't see it, can't see it, can't see it, can't see it, can't see it. Oh, now I see it, well off of here, then it's gone because my nose is in the way. Over here, I can see it, I can't see it, and where'd it go? I can't see it. So when I checked his visual fields, that's when I realized it's not an eyeball blindness problem, it's a visual field problem. But when he woke up, he said, I'm blind in one eye, because he can't see anything over here. All right? I'm going to give you this one. Then this one's a super interesting one. All right? And that is a stroke here does not affect any of the visual fields. Visual fields, eyeballs, everything's processing all the way back to the back of the brain. No problems. All the optic radiations, everything, the occiput is normal. In someone who has a stroke, classically, they're going to have a stroke in the left side of the brain. For some reason, it seems to be more common. Gives them right-sided weakness. And here's where the language center is, so they have problems communicating. All right? But a stroke on this side doesn't affect speech, so they can communicate all day long and have conversations. Affects the left side of the body, gives them left-sided weakness. But this side of the brain does three-dimensional. I put a block in one hand, a ball in the other, close your eyes, tell me which one is which. And all they can say is hard or soft. They cannot three-dimensionally put together that one is round in a ball and the other one's a block. Mathematics on this side. The other interesting thing that's on this side is insight and neglect. So insight into your own deficits. You're paralyzed on your left side. You can't walk because you're paralyzed on your left side. So don't get out of your wheelchair. Okay? You had the conversation. You can talk back and forth. Got it? And then they get up out of their wheelchair and fall because it doesn't process that they're paralyzed on their left side. It just doesn't process. You're sitting there, how could it not process? It just doesn't. They don't realize their own deficits, and they never will. The other thing is neglect. What does that mean? Well, you ever been sitting there working on something, you're bouncing your checkbook, you're playing a game, you're on the video, whatever, and one of your buddies says, hey, Bailey, your ears work, you can hear, but you're so focused on the game or what you're doing, they come up to you and they go, Bailey, you're like, oh, when did you get here? I've been calling you for the last 5 minutes. I didn't hear you. What do you mean you didn't hear me? I was right in the other room. I was calling you. You could hear. You can hear them, but your brain is so focused that you weren't processing the information. You do that, for example, you're at a stadium, all right? You're at the sports games. There's all this loud noise, but you're able to focus on a conversation right in front of you, or focus on the game and not process all this other noise because your attention is able to focus. It's a very critical thing. We're able to focus our attention despite all this other input. So you're not ignoring them, your brain just focuses. But in these people, their focus is to the right visual fields, not to the left. So they can see the left visual fields, but it doesn't process. They can hear things in the left fields, but it doesn't process. So I had a patient with this, and he eats, and his family puts the bacon on the left side of the plate. And he knows he's not done eating until he finds the bacon. It's right in front of him to the left, but it doesn't process. So he's eating, and his family said, would you want your bacon? He's like, oh, right, there's bacon. And he's got to force himself. He knows he has neglect. He knows it. But he still has to force himself to come over to that left visual field and find the bacon. They'll read a calendar, you put it in front of them, they're looking straight at it, and they'll go, okay, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. It's like all the numbers on the left side of the calendar, all the words. If they're reading a book, they see it, but it doesn't process. So they won't go all the way over to the edge of the page. You know, he was out there with his buddies in the backyard, and they were shooting off 22s, and their buddies go, okay, why don't you shoot that rabbit over there? He's like, what rabbit? The one over there. Where? By the red barn? What barn? Over there, the red barn? Finally forcing himself to look left. Oh, that barn. He didn't process the left visual field. He could see it, his eyeballs work, but it doesn't process. So you have one person who's blind in one eye, all right? They close this eye, can't see anything over there. Can't see anything. Open the eye, the nose gets in the way, they can't see here, turn their head. Oh, now I see over there, got 135 degrees of visual field. I can drive, I can do whatever. You got the person with the stroke on the occipital or along the radiations, and they lose visual fields. They actually can't process those visual fields. And so in the case of the guy that woke up after a colonoscopy, who had a stroke back in his occiput, the one eye can't see anything over here, can't see straight ahead. It can see over here, but the nose gets in the way. This eye can see everything from over here, everything from straight ahead over. No, I'm sorry, everything from over here over. So he has problems with all of this, and he can't fly, he can't drive, because he's not seeing anything over there. This person has neglect, And everything over there, you can put them in an electric wheelchair, they run into everything on their left in Walmart. They knock over things, they run into people. They see them, they just don't process the information. So they have a left neglect of their visual fields. And can actually affect hearing, their own body. If you ever want to check out some YouTube videos on left neglect, people will draw a flower with petals on one side. They'll draw a clock, and all the numbers will be on one side of the circle. You know, you give them a book to read, you have to put a mark down the left side of the page and say, don't read the next line until you find that red line. And they have to force themselves to look for that red line. All right? So, people, you feed them, they're like, I'm still hungry, spin the plate, 180 degrees. Oh, look, more food. He couldn't see the bacon on the left side of his plate. He could see it, it just didn't process. So there's different types of issues. So when you do this, you want to do your visual fields and see what each eye can see. All right? And you'll find that when they're looking at something, you know, can they see it? What is their peripheral vision? Another classic one is a lesion to the optic chiasm. The optic chiasm is the crisscrossy guys. Well, the things that you're looking at are on the same side of the eyeball, the orange. The crisscrossies, so this eye doesn't see the A, this eye doesn't see the C. So what that ends up meaning is, I don't see periphery out here, I can see what I'm looking at, but I lose my peripheral vision. The classic medical school thing is, you get a pituitary adenoma, so the pituitary gland is right here next to the optic chiasm, it swells, it crushes the optic chiasm, and you start getting loss of vision from the periphery inwards. And bromocriptine makes the blind man see. Bromocriptine can reduce some pituitary adenomas, and suddenly they have a better field of vision. So these are several different vision problems. So when someone says you have problems seeing, don't just think it's an eyeball issue. Do your visual fields, do your visual confrontations, do your, you know, can you read the eye chart thing? And then do your field of vision. Again, you don't have to know what you're finding. Just know that, hey, he can't see until I get my hand over here. You know, and then I turn and I go like this. And he's okay seeing here, but he can't see over here. Turn the other eye, all right, and see what he can see. The different visual fields. And then mark down the patterns. They should see everything. And you got to turn the head to get the nose out of the way, get the forehead out of the way, get the cheek out of the way. So you can check those areas of the fields. And once you do that, then you can say, okay, this guy has full visual fields, good visual confrontation. His eye test is normal. I'm not worried about it. Or no, he's got gaps here, gaps there. This eyeball doesn't see at all. The other one, you know, however it is, you know, neither eye can see over here. We have fancy words, heminopsias and things like that. Not to worry about big words, just know that if you challenge yourself to test the visual fields, you will find the deficits. And then just mark it down and go, that's not right, you need to see somebody smarter than me. You know, see the neurologist, get your MRI scans, things like that. But clearly there's an issue. And it's not just an eyeball issue. Because you always think lifelong eyesight, well, you're going to miss visual field deficits with your eyesight if you don't challenge the visual fields. So very important for you to do that, not just confrontation. All right, so yesterday, cranial nerves, your oculomotor, abducens and trochlear, left, right, four corners of a box. All right, with the eyeball tracking. All right. And then you have now visual fields. I'm looking straight ahead, turning my head out of the way, but I want to see what I can see in my periphery. All right, as I look straight ahead, but turning my head out of the way. All right, so just a couple of different lesions, examples. All right, and hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you got something out of that, especially challenge yourself to test those visual fields. All right, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.